welcome to HostMilano, welcome to the FCSI EMI booth, and welcome to Steve Spittle, Chief Commercial Officer of the Middleby Corporation. Today, Steve and I will be addressing the primary challenges, the trends, but also the opportunities on the horizon for hospitality and food service in 2026 and beyond. We're going to be looking at the impact of geopolitical changes, the evolving customer trends out there, but also the cutting-edge new innovation that's going to be shaping food service and hospitality into the next year and also into the next decade. So, Steve, before we get into the questions, could you maybe tell us a little bit about your experience, how long you've been with the Middleby Corporation?
Sure. Happy to. So first of all, thank you to FCSI for having me, having Middleby. Super
Thank you for joining us.
Honored to be with you. Been at Middleby coming up on just about 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily came up through Pitco, which is one of our divisions in New Hampshire. Primarily was on the selling side of the organization, and then moved into being the president about 10 years ago, and just kind of moved up and have been the chief commercial officer for, I think we're coming up on just about 5 years.
Yep. Okay.
And so very fortunate to have had a great run Middleby with our team.
And of course, within the last 5 years, we've seen a lot. The industry has changed a lot. We'll get into some of those changes. Let's start with the challenges.
I thought we would start with easy questions first. Is that how this is supposed to work?
We're going to go straight to the really difficult one, which is, can you talk about some of the kind of maybe the unifying challenges that the majority of operators out there globally are experiencing? What are they, and also what's causing them?
Yeah, great question. This could probably be the only question we talk about. There's so many. I think two come to mind for me. I think labor in the kitchen has been a big issue.
Yeah.
And it was a big issue really before we went into COVID, whether it was availability of labor, retention of labor, training of labor. And then you go through COVID, that created additional challenges. You go through all the rise of some parts of the restaurant industry that did very well. They couldn't find people. And then, kind of the period that we're in today, and labor is still a major issue. And it's all those things, right? It's still finding great people. It's how do you keep those people? It's the cost, which is more expensive than ever. And then how are you effectively training them? And all of those are major issues. And it affects the global market. Like I don't matter from in China, I'm in the US, I'm here in Europe. I guarantee you every restaurant has those challenges.
Yeah.
And I think for us as suppliers to the industry, it creates a great opportunity to come up with the right solutions to help them. I think there's been some good inroads in that area, but as I think about how I engage with our customers, I think labor is probably the number one or number two issue that they're looking to us to help solve.
Yeah.
I think the second issue that is a global issue is, as again, we've gone through the last 5 years, I kind of joke, but it's really not funny. It's like this is really like the 6th year of disruption. If you go from COVID through supply chain issues to inflation to this kind of period of uncertainty that we're in, they're all uniquely challenged. As we went through predominantly the supply chain challenges on the backside of COVID, and then we went through all the inflation that came on the backside of that, I think to answer the question, the second biggest issue I see is just the inherent cost of running a restaurant. And it doesn't matter if you're a school, you're a hospital, you're a fine dining establishment, like just the inherent cost, again, cost of labor, cost of food itself, cost of utilities, like go through a list, and obviously cost of what we do as suppliers. And so I think, again, it's an opportunity back on the suppliers to help figure out how can we help, not necessarily, take cost out, but I think help the operator better understand, how that ROI on, again, what they're buying from us or just in general. So I think those are the two big issues that I think, again, are global issues. I wish I could tell you they're going to get better tomorrow. They're probably not. I think both will remain, challenges for the next couple of years.
Yeah, they're the challenges, and nearly everyone's feeling them, right?
100%. Yeah.
So they're the big challenges that the industry is facing. They're industry challenges, but there's also these additional external factors that are impacting on the industry and other sectors too. And let's talk about those. So how would you say global geopolitics, things like the tariffs, things like the global economy, things like war, economic uncertainty. How is that also impacting on the sector? And are those impacts more direct? Are they impacting tangentially? Kind of how is the industry feeling those as well?
Yeah, there's a lot there in that question. I think a couple of things. I think the answer is yes, all of the above.
Yep.
I think if you look at tariffs to start, I think there are, depending on where you sit potentially in the world as a manufacturer or consumer, I think there's parts that are winning and losing. For Middleby, as an example, we manufacture in the U.S., we manufacture in Europe, we manufacture in China. And so when I wear my U.S. manufacturing hat and thinking about how it affects some of my competitors, I'm positive on it,
Yep.
right? And that is a benefit. When I think about brands that we bring into the U.S. from Europe, I'm not as excited about
Yeah.
it, right? So I think that's why you have different effects, if you will. I think when you look at the global issues like a war, what's been going on, obviously Russia, Ukraine, what's happened in the Middle East, I think any of those just inherently cause uncertainty.
Yes.
So I always come back to if I'm thinking as a franchisee, I'm an operator of, you can pick any kind of restaurant, but just of a QSR concept. And I think about if I'm in the short term that I have to replace a piece of equipment as an example. And I don't know the impact necessarily from tariffs. It changes every day. I don't know what's going to happen if there's another global issue. And there's so many byproducts of the global issues that it could cause food in certain areas to go. It could be, copper goes up. Like there's so many issues that come from that.
The knock-on effect.
And so I think that if I'm that operator, we all inherently just stop. Like we pause because am I better off paying it now? Is the cost going to go down or the tariff's going to go away? And so I think when you have that period of time, it's just everybody kind of holds.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a little bit of the period we're in.
Let's dig a little deeper into the tariffs issue kind of more directly. So those tariffs imposed on European and Asian goods came into effect in the summer.
Yeah.
Is it too early to really feel or measure and monitor the impact that they're having? Or are you already hearing your clients talking about the impact? Are you already directly seeing it at Middleby?
I can wear, again, a couple different hats because I wear a hat as obviously we're buying componentry from a global market. So we feel that impact, obviously, as we're talking to our customers about having to talk about pricing and move pricing through the market. That obviously plays a role. I think that we're probably on right now the front side of actually starting to feel it, just because manufacturers, you're working through inventory, it's just always that inherent lag in this case before it really starts to hit your P&L. So I feel like kind of now is when we as manufacturers start to feel it, which in turn means the consumers are going to feel it here pretty soon as well.
And is that kind of, well, first of all, where do you see the tariff situation heading? But secondly,
I have no idea. I haven't read Twitter today, so I'm not, or X, whatever. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I guess, because of things like COVID, this industry can be very fleet-footed and flexible when it needs to be.
Yeah.
How do you think the industry will react and will adapt around an issue like that is out of its control?
As kind of negative as we've talked on some of these topics, I will always come back to this industry time and time again. Pick your global issue, recession, whatever it may. This industry is resilient.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate in that because at its core, we all have to eat. So we're very fortunate. So how people find what they eat, how food is produced, that's always going to evolve and change.
Yep.
And I think you can paint to a number of examples, even in the last 5 years going through COVID, and obviously things like delivery, carry out, that really weren't that big a deal before COVID. There's always going to be, I think, the way the industry holistically adapts.
Yeah.
And so, are you going to have kind of ebbs and flows? And we're maybe in this period of uncertainty, but the industry is going to still do great.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's like I'm reminded when I come to an event like this, you're like, it's a massive industry.
It really is.
There's so many aspects to it, and it's going to do well.
Yeah.
No matter what. So we're all very fortunate, I think, to be in the industry we are. Yeah.
I agree. Let's focus on the second key challenge that you identified at the start. So after labour, you were talking about cost.
Yeah.
And obviously, there will be new layers of costs that are
course.
introduced with something like the tariffs. But what are the longer term implications of those costs? Will we see perhaps a bit more industry consolidation? Do you see supply chains getting quicker, more effective, just different? How do you think that's going to manifest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think now that we're through all the supply chain disruption from a couple years ago when it was really bad, I think I'm sure every industry had their respective challenges, but I think that there's a lot of positives that came from that. Again, I think of Middleby as, again, doesn't matter whether it's in the U.S. we're producing or Europe. I think more focus on having a closer localized supply chain became critically important. And I think actually in the case of the tariffs and how do you maybe mitigate some tariffs, the fact if you have a more localized supply chain is a big right. dividend. So I think that is a positive that we've seen come from this, which I do think helps navigate. I think it's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's localization, but it's also broadening of your supply chain. If you had one supplier in a category, today you probably have two or three, just
spread
the risk over. So I think all of those things, they were painful at the time when we were going through them, but I think we learned a lot of great lessons, and I think that's actually helping us navigate this period that we're in now of whether it's tariffs or just inherent, material costs that are going up and how you solve those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the issue of sustainability, which has been a massive kind of topic in this industry for many years now, particularly in the last kind of 5 years, I would say. Do you think something like sustainability, a sustainable practice in the industry, is that going to have to take a back seat while the industry deals with those big seismic issues you were talking about, labour costs? Or actually, do you think that the industry will just become more sustainable, more efficient, more energy efficient? Will we see more electrification of the industry? How's it going to impact that topic?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's more the latter. I think it actually, in some ways, and maybe it's not quite there yet, I think it will actually go faster. I think going back to my comment just around the cost of opening or running a restaurant, looking at things, whether it's energy efficiency, whether it's sustainability, again, you go through 4 or 5 things. Like, because the costs have actually become higher, it actually puts a lot more emphasis on, am I being sustainable? Am I using energy efficient equipment? Going back to operators challenging us about, hey, I really need to understand if I'm spending X dollars on a new piece of equipment, I have to understand the return on it. Has to be shorter than it ever has been. And I think that plays actually very well, again, around energy efficiency, electrification, whatever topic you want to pick, or sustainability. I don't think we've maybe quite seen it go into hyperdrive, if you will, but I do think it plays better for it than it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We focus on the challenges.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the key trends that you think are coming on the horizon. Can you sum up maybe what some of those are, and also how they're going to impact on the industry?
Yeah. I think one of the big trends that we're seeing is, again, as restaurants, I'll probably focus a little bit more maybe on like a quick service or a fast casual type restaurant, is their traffic has been tougher the last year or two of coming through their restaurants. They're all trying to figure out, obviously, how do I attract new customers coming through?
Yep.
And a big part of that is, how do I add new day parts to my menu? And they've always tried to figure it out, but I feel like it's become such a major issue that they have to solve. And you're starting to see the winners and kind of the losers in this area are becoming, it's very clear. I think a big trend that you're seeing in this aspect is just the introduction of more and more beverage type products.
Right.
I mean, when you think of some of the concepts, they're actually adding a premium beverage to their menu that you're like, I can't believe this chicken concept would now be incorporating, refreshers as an example.
Yeah.
And it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that is the adding day parts is probably the big trend. Picking up on beverage, that's a big part for Middleby, but I think you're seeing that in so many areas, and just beverage, whether it's water, it's ice, it's coffee, it's tea, it's beer. Like, you go through, it touches so many aspects of it. And again, it's a very profitable part of the business for these customers as well.
And
so it's very attractive.
It is, and it can also make operators have a real point of difference as well as by
100%.
doing that really well.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you talked there about the customer and how they're changing. Are you fundamentally seeing customers wanting something different? And are you seeing a kind of changing demographic that's impacting how operators need to operate? You mentioned the different day parts. How are customers changing, do you think?
It's kind of going back to, it's very interesting to me how you're seeing probably more and more delineation between the forward thinking, I have to do something different, versus I'm just going to keep doing it the same way I am. There's so many aspects to why you have to be forward thinking. I'll maybe pick on a nuance of, again, sorry, I'm wearing maybe a little bit of the big chain hat when I think about this, but if you're trying to always find new operators, new franchisees, whatever it may be for your concept, right? You're telling a story and you're pitching your concept. Well, if you have the option to be a franchisee over here or over here, are you going with the one that's forward thinking, they're revolutionizing what's gone on in the back of the house, or are you going with the one that's using, the same thing they've done for the last 30 years?
Right.
And as crazy as, it'd be like, oh, why would you ever go over here? There's still a lot they're still going over in the way they've done it for a long time. So
right.
It's very interesting to me how you're seeing a bigger delineation than others. But I think back to how customers, I think, are engaging us again. We've talked about the labor side. I mean, I think, again, that touches so many aspects of the operation. I think anything that can, back to adding day parts, beverages may be an extreme, but just inherently just flexibility of the menu.
Yep.
I think that has become a big push. And ultimately, as fun as it is, talk about fun new technology, and we have tons of it, simplification in many ways of just how do I simplify my operation as best I can. So it's like simplify, but also add day parts, and solve for labor. Those are, I think, what we're getting the most. Yeah.
And in terms, you mentioned innovation there and new technology.
Yep.
Clearly, labor is a huge pain point for operators. Are they seeing the benefit of how new innovation within the back of house, especially in terms of equipment, can really help them in terms of more automation, more efficiency? The introduction of things like AI, more sustainable equipment. Is that really starting to have an impact on the labor issue? You getting that feedback from your customers that's happening?
I think it is. And I think it's a tricky topic that I think when you talk about innovation or automation, the concept that I think it's natural to gravitate towards robotics as an example. Unless Middleby has robotics, it's great. For the right operator, it totally makes sense. There's a lot of automation that takes place in any restaurant today that's probably been in place for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it could be cleaning a combi, it could be how you dispense a product. And I think, and I'll give you the best example, I think, of automation today that I still feel like for our industry we're early days with, is IoT and the connectivity of whether it's equipment, whether it's your energy, utilities, whether it's safety. I feel like that there's actually more automation potentially in IoT than there is in robotics.
Right.
But again, I don't think we think of it that way. And I think we're still, as an industry, we're usually a little bit slower to adapt than other industries. So I think we're chasing customers with it. But I think the ones that are adopting technologies like that, they're 100% seeing real, dollar to the bottom line.
They're seeing the benefit.
100%.
Great.
Yeah.
Another aspect, it's not really automation, but it's something like artificial intelligence, AI. Yeah. How are you seeing that impacting on a modern kitchen? What kind of change is it going to have, and where do you see it going?
I mean, it's, again, could probably be the last question for the rest of the time together. I mean, it touches so many things. I'll tell you the one area where I see it that I'm most excited about. Again, we've talked a lot about the kitchen itself, the operation, is after sales service and support, which I think is one of the most challenged parts of our industry, maybe the most challenged part of our industry, in a number of different areas, whether it's finding the right service techs to be in the field, but as equipment or technology becomes more complex, having the right people in the field to work on the equipment and the after sale aspect is so critically important.
Yeah.
I would actually argue it's more important. Like, customers are willing to pay more for your equipment if they know they're going to have a great after sale experience. The capabilities that AI can help you with in terms of parts prediction. I know now as a service tech, when I go out on hopefully the first time, it's a first time fix because I already know potentially what I'm walking into, and how you can take, again, technology from the equipment connected through IoT. It's potentially dispatching somebody out, like, without you even noticing, and then the AI is helping that service tech while they're out there fix it. Like, that to me is game changing.
Yeah.
Because service is just such a challenged part of the industry today. I mean, I can walk through all kinds of stuff that can help you, I think, actually in the operation. But for me, like, that is something that is such a challenge today that I think it is. We're already seeing it.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a major impact.
It's a tough nut to crack, though, isn't it? That whole
Big time.
aspect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Big time. But if you do, it's game changing.
Yeah. These are challenging times for the industry and also for manufacturers as well. Why is it important, certainly from your perspective at Middleby, why is it important that manufacturers do keep investing in their R&D, do keep investing in innovation and new equipment, rather than just hitting pause and saying, let's just see how this plays out, let's just see what the global economy does? Even though there's all sorts of cost pressures and things like inflation, why is it important to keep investing in what you do?
Kind of like what we talked about with what's going to happen with sustainability. I think as a manufacturer, if you are not actually doubling down on your R&D, your innovation, you are going to get left behind.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's so many customers that are looking to us for the solution to solve all the issues we talked about on our time together. So if you are, again, if you hit the pause button, you think you're going to get passed by, and then you're going to play catch up for a couple years. I would argue if you're hitting the pause button right now, you're going to get so exponentially far behind.
Right.
Because, again, I think the top manufacturers that are thinking progressively like that are going to innovate hopefully faster than ever. Consumers are looking for that solution more than ever. And if you're hitting the pause button, you're going to end up you'll be an afterthought.
In the dust, yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it also really important to, I guess, collaborate and communicate really well with partners of yours in the industry? So people, I'm thinking specifically consultants.
Sure.
Here at FCSI EME.
Yeah.
Why is it so important for equipment manufacturers to have really good relationships with consultants, to keep talking, to keep showing them new products, the education piece, but also, I guess, listening to them and the challenges that they're getting from their clients? Yeah. Why is that a really pivotal aspect?
It's critically important. I think something that both, as an industry, we could probably still do better.
Yeah.
But I think from a manufacturer to consultant relationship, I would say that critically important to make sure that the consultants understand what we're working on, like what's coming. I think that helps them design, obviously, better specifications to give the solutions to their customers respectively. And I think you hit the nail on the head is... I would say holistically, I think manufacturers can very quickly get siloed on, hey, we think this is a great product, we think it's a great solution, but you never talk to a customer, you never talk to a consultant, and then you're like, oh, it has all these issues, or maybe it didn't have the market that we thought it did. So if you're working hand in hand before you really get too far into a development process on a product and you're engaging our consultant partners, I guarantee it will lead to better success for us selling more of our equipment. It'll lead to a better specification that's locked in, and frankly, keep that consultant as a forward-thinking, right? If I am an end user and I have my pick of consultants I want to go to, again, back to, am I going with the forward-thinking one, or I'm going the one that has the same spec from 25 years ago? I know where I'm going, and so I think the consultant is really connected to the very progressive thinking, innovative manufacturers that has that type of dialogue. It should be a win-win.
And part of that dialogue, I guess, is it's helpful. We can hear from some of the consultants here. It's helpful for them to actually get their hands on the equipment and to see it and to learn from it and to learn how to use it and to ask you questions about it.
Yeah.
You guys have invested very heavily in the Middleby innovation kitchens and the centers globally. New one opening in Italy. Why are they useful? Why do consultants like them? Not just consultants, reps, dealers, operators. Why is this a fundamentally good thing for the industry and also good for your partners as well?
Yeah, It's a great question. It's been a very specific mindset and strategy at Middleby. It started with our innovation kitchen we opened in Dallas, coming up on 5 years ago, which is crazy. And it really,
where has that 5 years gone?
I know. We really built it during COVID, and then opened at the beginning of 2021. Since then, we've opened, get my word right, we opened Madrid. We opened up Munich earlier this year. We just opened Venice, which is also tied into our food processing segment literally this week. We're opening up Dubai next year. So I think have proven that it's always great to come to a show like this, come to a NAFM show, come to a host show. You can't, the intimate connection, I think, and understanding and education that a consultant, a dealer, a rep, whoever it may be, that's coming through and is captive in our own facility with our people, with all our culinary team, is so powerful, and it's exponentially more powerful than any other type of experience that you could get.
It's really spending that quality time with them as well as
100%. And we can point to so many opportunities that Middleby has gotten because of that consultant writing a spec, the end user coming in and seeing, like, if we had not had the MIC and take your pick of the region, there's so many examples that we have not gotten the opportunities that we have. So we feel like we have a blueprint for it, and it feels like it pays off every day.
Absolutely.
So.
You mentioned HostMilano, you mentioned trade shows and the role that they have as well. Where do you see value in having your products here and your people here and able to meet huge audiences across a period of a few days? Why do events like this still matter to the industry? Why are they important?
Well, I may be slightly biased, so I'm very fortunate to also be the president of NAFA right now. So I think there's hopefully no disrespect to others, there's two great shows.
Yeah.
And it's NAFA and Host. And from my perspective is everybody got really good at teams over the last 5 years. You can't replace this. Yeah. Right. So I think in our industry, like, there's just that inherent, we like being around each other. Yeah. And it's still powerful to come to a stand or come to the booth at NAFM and just have the time to talk with each other. I think that should never be underestimated. But I also think it is the shows that have delineated themselves are the ones that have a great experience.
Right.
And I know, wearing my NAFM hat, like, we've been so focused on, very conscious of, if you're an operator coming through, a consultant, any part of the channel that's coming through, like, how do you make it a great experience? And it goes back, like, we have this common theme now of, are we doing things the same way we've done for the last 20, 25 years and the show looks stale? And there's plenty of examples of those out there. Or is it a forward-thinking, new technology, new way of engaging people as they come through? Those are going to be the winners, and that's why I think you see a Host and a NAFM continue to lead in that aspect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk very briefly about your tenure as president of NAFM.
Yeah.
What have you enjoyed about it, and what are you hoping to achieve in your term?
It's hard to believe I'm coming down to. This is no countdown. I don't want to be accused of that. Coming up, February is when I turn over, so it's hard to believe about a year and a half in. It's crazy how it's like you think it's somewhere in the distant future, and that hits you, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's almost over.
Yeah.
I think it has been. It's probably cliche. I think it's so much more rewarding than you even think it could be. Just the people you meet, and to be part of going to being part of the NAFM show or coming here as a NAFM representative. Just very proud of how I think the association continues to think of new ways to be beneficial and have a great network for our members. It touches actually a lot of the things we've talked about today. We spent a lot of time around advocacy of helping our members navigate things like tariffs, supply chain is a big part. I'm very proud of. We've spent a lot of time in giving back with Feeding America, which is the association back in the U.S. I think the connection between our industry and food insecurity around the world is something that NAFM started, and it connects back to all of our member companies can participate in local markets. Yep. So it really connects the association together. So very proud of that, and still trying to work on a mentorship program. Which in early days on, but it's crazy how quick it goes, and we'll see how much more we can jam in the next 6 months
Absolutely.
or so.
Well, thank you for your service, Steve.
Yeah.
A final question from me. We've talked a lot about the problems the industry is having to face, and also, there is opportunity there for sure, but also, there is also uncertainty out there. Why do you remain positive for the future of the industry? Why are you hopeful for 2026 and beyond? Why do you stay optimistic about it all? Why do you see a bright future?
Well, I'll give you two perspectives. I'll come back to what I said at some point about we're very fortunate that we're in a very sustainable industry. Mm-hmm. That again, there's going to be slight ebbs and flows to it, but again, the inherent we all have to eat part of the industry is why I will always be excited about this industry. I think from a little bit more of a data standpoint, there's Technomic. Has done a lot of studies. And if you go back and look at the number of restaurants and global restaurants that closed during COVID, the total dollars, just sales of those facilities that closed, and you kind of look at, obviously it dipped and it's kind of been on the steady, it's still a long way before we're back to kind of full recovery. And Technomic in their study has it into like 28 before we're back to a recovery. You can say whether or not that's right or wrong, but I'm excited about that because I feel like even though things have certainly trended better since COVID, like I feel like there's this great runway in front of us, and they're putting it's real data that even though there's been a lot more restaurants that have opened since COVID, it's actually nowhere close to where it was before COVID. And so I think that's why it's a great industry. We have to eat, and I think there's just this still inherent recovery that we're going through.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm excited for the next couple of years.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. Does anyone have a question at all for Steve that they'd like to ask? Anyone? Tina?
I can ask a question. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. That was super interesting. You spoke a bit about the QSR and fast casual, and they've come through a really tough time.
Yeah.
Partly by adding things like day parts. But you said that it's key to keep the menu flexible. Now, from a European perspective, something like dynamic pricing is really in its infancy.
Yeah.
As you see it, what role does dynamic pricing play in that setup within QSR and fast casual?
Good question.
It's a great question. Got to think about it for a second. It's interesting. Dynamic pricing, I would tell you, in the U.S. has a bit of a not so great connotation around it. I'm not quite sure how it's viewed as much here in Europe.
Similar.
It's similar, yeah. I think that, again, I think the chains, again, the QSRs, I think where you see it the most is they're all the ones that are more progressive obviously understand their data, I think, a lot better than those that don't. And I think the ones that are leveraging data, whether it could be what's coming in certain day parts, how you're driving day parts, how you're maximizing dollar of day parts, whether it's through dynamic pricing or as we talked about with adding just inherent menu items come through, you would think it's going to be something that all those chains really look to continue to drive. It's whether or not you like it or not as a consumer. If I'm an operator, I would think that has a lot of legs to it. That does make sense. But it does tie back into, I think, how are you, I'll call it maximizing the revenue in those down day periods. So that's one dynamic of it, or adding just the menu items to get people coming through.
Thank you.
I don't know if I answered the question or not. Okay, all right, yeah.
And all that data collection, all the more reason to do something in terms of having a joined up, connected kitchen.
Yeah.
Where the units are talking to each other.
Correct.
And actually doing something with that data to learn from it and help maximize efficiency, right? It all plays into the same thing.
100%.
Wonderful. Yeah. Any other questions at all? Okay, let's wrap things up there, Steve. That was a really illuminating discussion, really high-end stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.